Hello and welcome back to English Podcast Voice, the place where we break down English for you, helping you master the language needed for, real-life confidence and fluency. I'm your host, Quinn.
And I'm Riley. It is absolutely wonderful to connect with everyone again. Today we are launching, a really deep dive into the language you need to talk about something that's super personal, but also, universally relatable, your daily routine.
That's right. Our mission today is total mastery of those A1 and A2 linguistic tools. I mean, the core grammar, the essential phrases, the nuances, everything that lets you describe your day from the moment that alarm clock goes off until your head finally hits the pillow.
And we are specifically framing this review of the basics as the essential scaffolding for B1 fluency. If you can talk about your day accurately, using connecting phrases and adverbs of frequency, you've achieved the linguistic anchor you need to progress.
To what, like discussing the past or more complex stuff?
Exactly, or even hypothetical situations.
I think that's so key. We kind of look down on the simple present tense because it's the first one we learn, but it's so foundational. But I have to ask about the core problem here. Why is it so hard for people to talk about their day even though they live it every single day? It seems like it should be the easiest topic, right?
It's a super common struggle, and our source material highlights this perfectly. Learners often freeze up.
Yeah.
And it's not because they don't know the basic words. It's because they're trying to translate from their native language, in their head before they speak. They're trying for perfection before they even say a word.
Oh, that mental fatigue. It must be exhausting.
It is. So when you focus your practice on describing your immediate physical routine, something you're practicing real English, it's useful, it's low stakes, and it's immediate.
So you stop searching for fancy words and just practice making simple, accurate sentences.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And that practice helps you stop translating and start actually thinking in English.
That makes total sense. We're building muscle memory for the most frequent structures. I love that idea of low-stakes, high-frequency practice. So what specific tools are we teasing today? What's going to unlock that flow and nuance?
We have three big ones. First, we are re-anchoring our knowledge of the simple present tense, making sure that foundation is rock solid. Second, we are diving deep into the usage and the tricky placement rules for adverbs of frequency. We actually have a pop quiz on that coming up later.
Oh, a quiz. Okay. And third?
And third, we're going to immerse ourselves in 12 high-value vocabulary phrases that span the whole day, including a little philosophical dive into why intentional habits become rituals.
Ah, and you promised to share that surprising fact about one of our morning habits, the infamous cold shower secret.
Yes, I am preparing to confess my deep personal commitment to discomfort, all in the name of alertness. It is tough, but wow, it is very effective for waking up completely.
Excellent. You'll definitely want to stick around to hear that. Before we plunge into the depths of all this, let's take a quick moment for our amazing listeners. This deep dive is brought to you by the incredible English podcast Voice community. So please, if you want more episodes just like this one, take 1 second right now to subscribe to English Podcast Voice and like this episode. Your support helps us keep these deep dives coming. Okay, let's unpack this. Let's jump right into the core conversation, starting with the grammar anchor. We know it's the simple present tense, but as a learner who's maybe been studying for a while, I have to ask, why do we spend so much time on this tense? Isn't it just too simple? Aren't we just repeating the first thing we ever learned?
That is a fantastic point, and it's a feeling a lot of B1 learners share. They think, I know this already.
Yeah.
But you should think of the simple present not as a basic thing, but as the power source of English fluency. Our sources call it the universal linguistic anchor.
The anchor. Okay, I like that.
Exactly. Let's use an analogy right away. The simple present is the SVO foundation of the English house. It's the concrete slab everything else is built on.
So the simple past, present continuous, all that stuff.
All of it. The future tense, they all rely on your automatic recall of that simple present structure. If that foundation is weak, your ability to apply more advanced skills will be constantly compromised.
So it's not about complexity. It's about being absolutely 100% automatic and accurate with the most common structure in the language. If I can't talk about my everyday habits accurately, I have no reliable starting point for anything else.
Precisely. We use it for three main things that are central to this deep dive. Habitual actions like I brush my teeth every morning, scheduled events like the train leaves at 8 a.m. every day, and general facts like water boils at 100 degrees Celsius. It covers everything regular, habitual, or factual.
Okay, let's quickly confirm the basic forms. For I, you, we, and they, we just use the base form of the verb, right? I read, we work, no changes needed.
Correct. The basic form is the foundation. Now let's talk about the point where accuracy often slips and where a B1 learner really needs to re-anchor their knowledge. The third-person singular rule.
Ah, the one that signals third-person singular conjugation, adding that smek s or is?
That's the one. And this rule is non-negotiable for he, she, and if subjects. It's a crucial signal in English grammar. For instance, you have to say, she likes to sleep, or he walks the dog. Not applying this rule is probably the single biggest accuracy error at the A1, A2 level. It just stops you from progressing smoothly.
Why do you think it feels so easy for learners to forget that little as?
Well, because a lot of other languages rely on context or have way more complex verb conjugations. So sometimes learners feel like this tiny a's doesn't matter that much.
But it does.
In English, where conjugations are so minimal that as carries enormous structural weight. It is the only signifier of a third-person singular present action. If you drop it, the sentence sounds incomplete to a native speaker.
So it's a communication signal we just can't afford to ignore. Give us that contrast one more time, using an action we might do later in the evening, like watch television.
Certainly. If we are talking about a group, we say, they watch television late. But if we're talking about a friend, say, named Alex, we have to say, he watches television late. The EAS is mandatory for that singular subject.
So in practice, you'd say, I go to work. But when you talk about your partner, it has to be, she goes to work. It needs to become automatic, like breathing.
Exactly.
Okay, moving into negative sentences, we need the auxiliary verbs for this, do and does, correct?
We do. To make a negative statement, we rely on the auxiliaries do or does plus not. And in conversational English, we almost always use the contracted forms.
Yeah.
Don't and doesn't.
So for I, you, we, and they, we use don't. Like, I don't drive to work. We don't check emails after 6 p.m.
Exactly. And for he, she, and it, we use doesn't. She doesn't study English on the weekends.
Now, here's the critical rule that really differentiates A1 from A2 proficiency. Once we use the auxiliary does, what happens to the main verb?
The main verb reverts to its base form. It does not change. This is probably the single most important rule to internalize here.
Why is that?
Because the auxiliary does already carries the burden of the third-person conjugation. It has the as job, so the main verb can relax. You would never say, he doesn't drives. The correct, accurate sentence is, he doesn't drive.
That's a great way to think about it. The does takes the job of the S. The auxiliary carries that conjugation marker.
It streamlines the whole structure. The simple present tense requires that only one verb in the phrase can carry that as conjugation, and if there's an auxiliary, the auxiliary takes it.
Okay, let's transition smoothly into questions. The structure relies on the same auxiliaries, right? We just bring duh or does to the very front.
That's right. To form a basic yes-no question about someone's routine, you place the auxiliary do or does at the beginning, right before the subject.
So for first and second person, we start with do. Do I need to leave now? Do they always take a break at noon?
Yes. And for the critical third-person singular, he, she, we start with does. Does she take a shower in the morning? Does he check his phone right when he wakes up?
And always remember, the main verb stays in the base form after does. So does she take, not does she takes.
You've got it. It has to stay in the base form.
Got it. Now let's quickly address the maverick, the rebel of English grammar, the verb to be. It just throws that whole auxiliary rule out the window.
It does. To be is entirely self-sufficient. It handles its own conjugation, its own negatives, and its own question formation without needing do or does at all.
We should do a quick review of the conjugation, I think, especially because we use it to talk about how we feel about the routine.
Definitely. So singular subjects have three unique forms. I am, you are, and he, she, it is. Plural subjects are more straightforward. We are, you all are, they are.
And for the negative,
You just add not right after the verb. I am not tired. They're not early. Or, in conversation, they aren't early.
and for questions, we just flip it. Inversion.
Exactly. Instead of you are busy, we ask, are you busy? Instead of she is happy, we ask, is she happy?
This exception is so crucial for our deep dive because routines aren't just about what we do. They're also about how we feel and are.
Absolutely. To be is how we integrate emotional context. I am tired after lunch, or she is usually focused when she works from home. This is how you move from just reciting a list of actions to really describing your experience.
But it was the key to A2 fluency and, well, to having a real conversation.
I think so.
That smoothly brings us to the next layer, adverbs of frequency. We're moving beyond just doing something to describing how often we do it, which adds so much nuance.
Right. What's fascinating here is that adverbs of frequency are the tool that lets a learner express consistency, or a lack of it. They move us from a simple list to a narrative that has exceptions and variability.
Right. So if the simple present is the foundation, you said earlier that adverbs of frequency are like the slider bar on your phone's screen brightness.
That's right. They set the intensity or the consistency of the habit. They help you differentiate between things you always prioritize and things you rarely get around to doing.
Like, I always check my email when I wake up, but I rarely eat a big breakfast.
Perfect example.
Let's nail down the core A1 vocabulary here, using those percentages. I think that helps visualize the meaning. Starting at 100%.
100% is always. You do this action every single time. For example, I always drink coffee in the morning.
And then the high frequency default, maybe 90 or 80%?
That's typically, usually, or often, also normally or generally.
Yeah.
If you say 90%, it's a strong default. But there are exceptions. We usually eat dinner at 7 p.m.
And often.
At 80%, you might use often, as in, she is often busy on Tuesdays.
Hitting the middle ground, the toss-up, about 50%.
That's sometimes. It happens about half the time. It's probably the most useful adverb for describing variability and inconsistency in a routine. Sometimes I skip my workout.
And the low end, maybe 10% or 0.
At 10%, we use words like rarely or hardly ever. This signals that the action is an infrequent exception. I rarely get to bed before 11 p.m. And 0% is the hard stop. Never. He never eats fast food.
That percentage range is a really helpful tool for B1 learners to use these words with the right weight. Now, the tricky part, placement.
Placement is where the grammar gets a bit more complex, especially when we compare main verbs to the verb to be. We need to establish 3 clear patterns.
Okay, pattern 1, the default rule for main verbs.
Correct. The default rule is that the adverb of frequency goes before the main verb. For example, I usually go to the gym. The adverb usually comes before the action verb go.
So they often review their notes after class.
Exactly.
Okay. Pattern 2, the essential exception, the to be rule.
This is the rule that must be mastered for accuracy. When you're using the verb to be, the adverb has to come after the conjugated verb. You can't say the boss always is early. You must say the boss is always early. The adverb always follows the verb is.
So if I describe my state using to be, I have to put the frequency adverb after it. I am never late, not I never am late.
You have secured that pattern. You've got it. It is a critical distinction that immediately signals accurate, simple present usage.
Okay, pattern 3, auxiliary plus adverb plus verb. This happens when the verb has 2 parts, like in a negative sentence, or you said for A2 when using the continuous tenses.
Yes. When the verb phrase has 2 or more parts, the frequency adverb usually follows the first part, the auxiliary. Let's look at the present continuous, which is often used to express irritation or a complaint about a habit.
Oh, that's a great nuance. So not just a habit, but we are complaining about the habit.
Precisely. We use the pattern. Subject plus auxiliary to be plus adverb plus main verb, evening, for example. You're always looking at your phone.
Ah, I see. The adverb always is sandwiched between the auxiliary are and the main verb looking.
Exactly.
That placement feels a little more nuanced than the simple main verb rule. What's the difference between saying, you always look at your phone, and you're always looking at your phone?
That's a great question. The first one, you always look at your phone, is just stating a constant habit. The second one, you're always looking at your phone, carries a negative or complaining tone. It suggests that this habit is annoying.
Whoa. The grammar structure itself signals the emotion.
It does. And finally, let's revisit the 2 rebel adverbs.
Sometimes, and occasionally, the flexible one.
These are unique because they can go at the front, middle, or end of the sentence. This offers a lot of versatility. You can say, sometimes she drives to school, or she sometimes drives to school, or she drives to school sometimes. All 3 are grammatically correct.
So you have flexibility, but the default placement before the main verb is usually the safest bet for the other adverbs.
That's right. The key takeaway is master the to be rule, master the main verb rule, and then enjoy the flexibility of sometimes.
Now we launch into the vocabulary segment. This is where we build the practical muscle to talk about our routine, from the moment of consciousness onward. So, spotlight time. I need to know the clear difference because I hear people using both of these interchangeably. What's the real distinction between wake up and get up?
This is a foundational contrast. Wake up is the mental action. Your eyes open, your mind moves from unconsciousness to consciousness. Get up is the physical action. You move your body out of the bed.
So I can be fully awake for an hour, planning my day, but still be lying in bed, not having gotten up yet.
Exactly. Wake up is also a phrasal verb. The verb wake and the particle up work together to form that specific meaning.
Right.
If you drop the up, you lose the meaning of becoming conscious.
Let's run those 5 distinct examples to really drill the usage.
Okay. 1, formal. The captain must ensure the crew is fully woken up before the ship docks. 2, casual. I really hate to get up when it's still dark outside. 3, funny. My brain wakes up immediately, but my legs refuse to get up until the coffee is ready. 4, historical. They'd get up much earlier in agricultural societies because the day was dictated by the sun. And 5, philosophical. Waking up with intention is crucial for your day, even if you don't get up right away.
I love that blend of mental and physical. Now let's do a little role play about the ultimate morning struggle, the snooze button. I'll start with the alarm.
Okay, the scenario. It's a Monday morning. The alarm starts at 6:30 a.m.
Beep, beep, beep. My eyes snap open. I wake up. But I immediately reach over and hit the snooze button. My brain knows I need to get up, but the bed is just too comfortable.
You're in that dangerous half-awake state. You're fully conscious, you've woken up, but you are willfully refusing that second, harder step. After 9 minutes, the alarm goes off again.
I physically groan. I stretch my legs. I dramatically throw the covers off, and I finally use my core muscles to get up and stand on the cold floor. I am officially up.
That contrast is perfect. It shows how you can use both phrases in sequence to describe the full experience of consciousness versus physical action.
Now, the collocations and nuances.
Okay, 1, wake up at 7 but cheer, a time marker. 2, wake up earlier, comparative action. 3, get up slowly, adverbial description. 4, get up around 6:30, approximate time. And 5, get up on the wrong side of the bed. That's an idiom for being grumpy. If I'm snappy, I can say, sorry, I must have gotten up on the wrong side of the bed today.
Okay, we are up. Next is hygiene. Spotlight on the teeth. Brush versus clean. What is the most natural, high-frequency phrase for the daily routine?
The absolute high-frequency phrase native speakers use is brush my teeth. While clean my teeth is understandable, brush my teeth implies the specific action with the toothbrush.
So if I go to the dentist, they might talk about a professional cleaning, but in my daily routine, I brush.
Exactly. The action is brushing, which results in cleaning.
Let's get those 5 examples.
All right. 1, formal. All personnel are required to brush their teeth thoroughly before commencing the shift. 2, casual. I really need to brush my teeth before I drink my coffee, otherwise I feel weird. 3, funny. I brush my teeth so vigorously that I risk scrubbing the enamel right off. 4, historical. Early methods to clean teeth involve using rough materials like chalk or herbs. And 5, philosophical. The commitment to brushing my teeth twice a day is a small, consistent ritual that reflects my general commitment to self-care.
Now for the role play about the full hygiene routine. I've just forced myself out of bed. I walk into the bathroom feeling groggy.
To combat that grogginess, what is the first action many people take?
I immediately splash my face with cold water. That sudden shock helps me wake up completely.
Perfect. The blood rushes to your skin, then you reach for the toothbrush, you put the paste on.
I make sure I am focused. I look in the mirror. I brush my teeth for the full 2 minutes, concentrating on getting the back molars. I try to focus on the manual process, not think about work yet.
And what else might you do related to oral hygiene to deepen the routine?
I make sure to floss first, which is a step I sometimes forget but is important for deep cleaning. And then I rinse my mouth thoroughly.
Excellent. You've used brush my teeth, floss, and rinsing in a coherent narrative.
Collocations and nuances, please.
Sure. 1, brush slowly, carefully. 2, toothbrush and toothpaste. Essential related vocabulary. 3, clean teeth, using clean as an adjective. 4, electric toothbrush, a specific type. And 5, floss, the key related vocab for deeper hygiene.
All right, spotlight on the shower phrase, take versus have. Is one a mistake or is it just regional?
It's purely regional preference and usage frequency, not a grammatical mistake. Both take a shower and have a shower are correct and high frequency.
So American English prefers take and British English prefers have?
Generally, yes.
Yeah.
American English strongly favors take a shower, while British English often defaults to have a shower. The definition is the same, to get clean and feel fresh.
So a B1 learner should just pick one for consistency, but know both?
Exactly. Let's run the 5 examples, integrating both versions. 1, formal. All staff must take a shower immediately after working with hazardous materials. 2, casual. I always have a quick shower before breakfast. It's part of my wake-up process. 3, funny. I sound like an opera singer when I take a shower because the acoustics are so good. 4, historical. Only relatively recently did most households have the infrastructure to have a shower every day. And 5, philosophical. Taking a shower helps me mentally wash away the stress of yesterday, preparing my mind for a fresh start.
Time for the role play, and this is where we need to integrate your cold shower secret. Let's discuss the variations in our routines.
Okay, I'm ready to confess. Most people prefer a warm shower, especially at night to wind down. But in the morning, I need maximum alertness.
I usually just rely on the warm water to relax my muscles. I have a warm shower, and that's it.
My routine is a strategic compromise. I start with warm water for comfort for about 5 minutes. But for the last 30 to 60 seconds, I intentionally turn the dial to the coldest setting possible.
Oh my gosh, that sounds awful. Why would you do that?
Because that blast of cold water serves a distinct purpose. It causes a shock response. It forces my breathing rate to deepen, and it instantly boosts circulation and mood.
So you take a warm shower, but you finish with cold water for maximum alertness.
Exactly. It's a deliberate tool.
That is an amazing example of intentional action.
No.
I'll stick to multitasking while I shower, like listening to English audio or music. It's a great use of that time.
That's a great strategy. Listen to audio while I shower. You are using the time marker wall perfectly.
Give us the collocations and nuances.
Okay. Quick, long, warm, cold shower. Adjectives. Take a bath. The important contrast. A bath is sitting. A shower is standing. Steamy shower describes the environment. Feeling fresh after a shower, linking the action to the result. And finally, jump in the shower. A casual, high-frequency way to say, you're starting quickly.
Okay, we are clean and awake. Now for the shift to work or study. Spotlight on check my emails. We also check phones, check calendars. What does check imply in these contexts?
Check implies looking quickly, usually for triage or assessment, to see if new information is there and decide what's important. The action of check my emails specifically signals that transition into work or study mode.
So it's not about deep work. It's a quick scan for importance and urgency.
Precisely. It's the initial reconnaissance, setting your priorities.
5 examples, please.
1. Formal. The first task is to check one's emails and categorize important versus non-urgent correspondence. 2. Casual. I try not to check my emails before I even get out of bed, but I sometimes fail. 3. Funny. I check my emails hoping for a cancellation, but instead I find 3 new urgent tasks. 4. Historical. This is the digital equivalent of checking the mail first thing in the morning. And 5. Philosophical. The constant urge to check emails reflects a modern anxiety about needing to be constantly available, which we should try to unplug from later.
Let's run a role play about the start of the typical work morning. I'm sitting down at my desk.
You turn on your laptop. The first app you open is your email client.
I immediately check my emails. I see 5 new ones. 3 are junk, so I delete them. 1 is from a coworker about lunch, so I reply quickly. Yes, sounds good.
And the 5th one, it's from your boss, marked urgent.
I stop scanning and shift my focus. I have to read that one thoroughly. Before I start the urgent task, I quickly check my calendar to confirm I don't have any immediate meetings that will interrupt me. Okay, I'm clear until 10 a.m. Time to focus. I am now officially in the workflow.
The sequence is perfect. Check emails, determine urgency, check calendar, then begin work.
Collocations and nuances.
Sure. Check the news stock prices. Similar use of check my phone. Resisting or succumbing to the impulse, check my schedule calendar. Related professional nouns, read messages, the contrast. Check is triage, read is consumption. And reply to emails, the required follow-up action.
Okay, we've moved past the morning and we are deep into the day, but now comes the test. The energy starts to dip dramatically. Spotlight on slump. What exactly is the afternoon slump? Is it just being tired, or is there a more specific meaning?
The slump is a specific, acute drop in energy, motivation, or cognitive performance. It's generally tied to the post-meal crash, often between 2 and 4 p.m. It's not chronic tiredness. It's a temporary decline that requires intervention.
I've always heard it called hitting a wall, a sudden deep dip.
That's a good descriptor. Let's look at the 5 examples. 1. Formal. The analysis indicated a consistent productivity slump across the workforce following the lunch period. 2. Casual. I always hit a serious slump around 3 p.m. I feel completely sluggish and can't focus. 3. Funny. I try to fight the afternoon slump with an enormous energy drink, but the slump usually laughs at me and wins. 4. Historical. In economics, a prolonged period of reduced business activity is also called a market slump. And 5. Philosophical. Feeling a creative slump is the mind's way of signaling it has reached cognitive overload and desperately needs a chance to recharge.
Let's do a role play focusing on that internal struggle right after lunch.
Okay, you've just eaten a slightly heavy lunch. You sit back down at your desk.
I immediately feel it. My eyelids feel heavy and I feel sluggish. That's a great word for it. My eyes keep reading the same sentence, but my brain has checked out. I have this internal monologue. My eyes say sleep, but my boss says work.
So what strategic action do you take to avoid the slump deepening? The sources suggested not staying glued to the chair.
That phrase, glued to my chair, is excellent. It describes that physical inertia perfectly. To fight it, I take a 5-minute break. I stand up, walk to the window, and stretch. I refuse to let the slump take over.
That intentional physical movement is key. It forces your body to reactivate.
Collocations and nuances.
Okay, hit a slump, the verb we use. Afternoon slump, specifying the time, feeling sluggish. The adjective to describe yourself, burnout, a related concept but more severe and long-term. And pick me up, the solution to a slump, like a quick walk or a cup of tea.
Okay, spotlight on recharge. We've talked about fighting the slump. How is recharge different from just rest?
Rest is general inactivity. You can rest by just sitting still. Recharge implies a much more active, intentional process of regaining energy, like plugging a battery back into a power source.
So if I sit and stare blankly at the wall, I'm resting. If I go for a mindful 10-minute walk in the fresh air to clear my mind and return with focus, I am recharging.
Exactly. It's active renewal that leads to sustained productivity. 5 examples. 1, formal. It is company policy that employees fully recharge during their designated break times. 2, casual. I need a quick nap to recharge my batteries before the evening event. 3, funny. I need to recharge my patience level after spending the morning on hold with customer service. 4, historical. During long military campaigns, soldiers took strategic breaks to recharge and resupply. And 5, philosophical. Taking intentional time to recharge is a form of self-maintenance. You can't perform well long-term if you neglect it.
Let's role play using breaks strategically. The sources mention the Pomodoro technique.
Right. This technique is great for managing focus. It involves focus work periods like 25 minutes, followed by mandatory short breaks.
Okay, my 25 minutes are up, the timer goes off, I have 5 minutes to recharge. I stop everything. I stand up, look away from the screen, and I make a fresh cup of tea.
You're using that short interval to actively renew your cognitive resources. You are moving, drinking, changing your visual input. If you successfully recharge, you avoid the worst effects of the slump.
And if I just skip that 5 minutes and try to push through it, I risk the quality of my work and I'll just be more tired later. The word recharge really emphasizes the necessity of the renewal.
It's a necessity, not a luxury.
Collocations and nuances.
Sure, recharge batteries, literally and figuratively, need to recharge. High-frequency expression, fully recharged. Adverb modifier, jolt, the opposite, like a sudden energy boost.
Yeah.
And rejuvenate, similar to recharge but often implies a deeper, more profound restoration.
Spotlight on leftovers. Super practical vocabulary for lunch. Can I just say the remaining food if I can't remember leftovers?
While it's clear, native speakers almost universally use the fixed noun leftovers, and it's crucial to remember it's almost always plural. It's the highest frequency phrase for food from a previous meal.
The plural usage is key. Give me the 5 examples.
1, formal. The catering department ensures that all suitable leftovers are safely packaged to minimize food waste. 2, casual. I'm feeling lazy. I'll just heat up the pasta leftovers for lunch today. 3, funny. My partner always claims the leftovers taste better the second day, especially pizza. 4, historical. Historically, creative use of leftovers was a marker of economic efficiency in the home. And 5, philosophical. Thinking of leftovers as a small gift from your past self to your future self can foster a sense of gratitude.
Let's do a role play about planning ahead. I'm describing my routine the night before.
Okay, it's Sunday evening. You're cooking a large chili, knowing you have a busy week ahead.
I deliberately cook 3 times as much as I need for dinner. Why? Because I plan to pack leftovers for both Monday and Tuesday lunch.
Excellent. So when Monday rolls around, you don't need to spend time or mental energy deciding what to eat.
That's right. At noon, I simply take the container from the fridge and heat up the leftovers in the office microwave. It's quick, cheap, and it minimizes decision fatigue.
That is a perfect description of how a practical habit simplifies the midday routine.
Collocations and nuances.
Okay. Dinner leftovers, specifying the original meal, heat up leftovers, the required action, pack leftovers, preparing them for transport, bring lunch from home, a related broader phrase. And scraps. The contrast. Scraps are generally waste, while leftovers are good food.
Spotlight on push-through. I hear this phrase a lot in professional and athletic contexts. What does this phrasal verb mean when we're talking about routines?
Push through means to continue working or moving forward despite difficulty, tiredness, or resistance. It implies a conscious, often exhausting application of willpower to overcome an immediate obstacle.
But wait, isn't push through just a fancy way of saying I should feel guilty for needing a break? I mean, doesn't this phrase promote an unhealthy burnout culture, especially since we just talked about recharging?
That is a critical point. While push through is a common phrase, we have to use it carefully. It refers to a necessary short-term burst of effort, like finishing the last 5 minutes of a workout. It shouldn't be a long-term strategy. That leads directly to burnout.
So it's a sprint, not a marathon.
Exactly. It's situational willpower. 5 examples. 1, formal. The emergency surgical team had to push through their scheduled break to stabilize the patient. 2, casual. I was so sleepy, but I had to push through the last chapter of the book before the exam. 3, funny. I tried to push through the afternoon without coffee, but I failed spectacularly at 4 p.m. 4, historical. Soldiers had to push through the final, most strenuous part of a march despite aching feet. And 5, philosophical. Sometimes learning to push through discomfort creates mental resilience as long as it's balanced with sufficient recharge time.
Let's roleplay the decision point at 4 p.m.
It's late afternoon. You have 1 hour left, but you realize you skipped your 3 p.m. recharge break. You are hitting a wall.
I feel the slump. I know I should stand up, but this report is due in 30 minutes. If I stop now, I won't finish. So I make the decision. I will push through this final half hour.
So you consciously ignore the fatigue, tell yourself, I'm almost there, and use your willpower to concentrate. You succeed in submitting the report exactly on time.
But what's the consequence?
The consequence is that you finish work feeling more profoundly exhausted. Your ability to wind down in the evening will be compromised because you depleted your mental resources so thoroughly. It proves that pushing through should be the exception, not the habit.
That's a great dialogue. It shows the word in action perfectly, collocations and nuances.
Sure. Push through the pain difficulty. Push through the deadline. Work context. Keep going. A synonym, maybe less intense. Give up, the direct opposite, and power through. Similar, but often implies great mental force.
The workday is officially over. Now we transition into the evening, the preparation phase for sleep. These next phrases are all about intentional deceleration. As a spotlight on wind down. Is this a physical action or purely mental? And how does it relate to that feeling of needing to slow down?
To wind down is a process of relaxing gradually after being busy. It's a metaphorical action with very real physical consequences. Think of a classic clockwork toy. When you finish using it, you let the gears slow down. You wind it down. It's the intentional deceleration of mental and physical activity.
I like that analogy, the transition from work mode to sleep mode.
Exactly. 5 examples. 1, formal. Adequate time must be scheduled for all team members to wind down and separate from professional anxieties. 2, casual. I put on soft classical music and read a physical book to help me wind down after dinner. 3, funny. It takes my brain 2 hours to wind down because it insists on solving problems that happened 3 years ago. 4, historical. Before electricity, the routine of lighting the fire naturally forced people to wind down much earlier. And 5, philosophical. Learning how to effectively wind down is a critical skill for mental health, preventing the carryover of stress from one day to the next.
Let's roleplay that essential shift from a stressful day to relaxation.
You've just finished that difficult report you had to push through. Your brain is still racing. What intentional steps do you take to signal the end of the workday?
First, I change out of my work clothes into cozy clothes, my unwind uniform. Then I make a point of separating the spaces. I close my office door or put my laptop in a drawer. This signals to my brain that the workspace is contained.
That's environmental cueing. You've changed your clothes and your environment. What's next?
I start to unplug from electronic devices. I dim the lights around the house to signal the change in time, and I start making a cup of tea. These small, deliberate actions allow my system to wind down naturally.
Perfect. You're actively managing your environment to reduce stimulation.
Collocations and nuances.
Okay. Wind down the evening. Specifying the time. Wind down routine. The sequence of actions. Unwind, a very common synonym. Ramp up. The exact opposite. And settle down. A similar phrase, often used for calming children, but it works for oneself too.
Spotlight on unplug. This is a powerful, modern metaphor. Why is unplug so important for the evening routine? And how is it different from just turning off your phone?
To unplug is a highly intentional act. It's about physically disconnecting from electronic devices or mentally disconnecting from digital stress. It's a metaphor for well-being. You are figuratively pulling the cord from the wall that connects you to the demanding digital world.
It's not about convenience. It's a deliberate boundary.
Exactly. The importance lies in recognizing that constant connectivity keeps your brain on high alert, which prevents deep sleep. Unplugging lowers that activation. 5 examples. 1. Formal. Employees must unplugging from all communication channels to prevent intrusion into personal time. 2. Casual. I try to unplug completely after 9 p.m. by putting my phone on silent in the kitchen. 3. Funny. I try to unplug, but I keep finding myself accidentally plugging back into my phone every 5 minutes. 4. Historical. The need to unplug is a purely modern concept, driven by the constant connection of smartphones. And 5. Philosophical. Unplugging creates the necessary space to be present with ourselves, our families, or a physical book, without the distraction of constant information.
Let's roleplay the anti-scrolling strategy. The temptation is always there to check social media one last time.
You're trying to wind down, but your phone is right next to you on the sofa.
Yeah.
What do you do to enforce that boundary of unplugging?
I have to physically move the phone. I put it on the charger in a completely separate room, and I turn the notifications off entirely. I am resisting the urge to sneak in a quick scroll.
Sneak in is a great phrasal verb there, to do something quickly and secretly. You're actively removing the visual cue of the device. Why?
Because studies show that even the blue light from screens can suppress melatonin production. By unplugging the laptop and the phone, I'm physically preparing my body for sleep.
That intentional physical distance is key.
Collocations and nuances.
Sure, unplug from social media work, specifying the source. Unplug the laptop, the literal application, digital detox, a related noun for a longer period, switch off, a similar high-frequency synonym, and plug in, the opposite action.
Spotlight on ritual. This word sounds so much more serious than routine or habit. How can my simple actions, like making tea or stretching, become a ritual?
This is where we link language to psychology. A ritual is a habit done regularly, but the crucial distinction is that it's performed with care and meaning attached. It's a deliberate habit. When you elevate a mundane routine to a ritual, you introduce mindfulness and intention.
So a habit is automatic, but a ritual is performed with consciousness. If I quickly throw a tea bag in a cup, it's a habit. If I carefully select the tea, use a specific teapot, and sit quietly while it brews, that is a ritual.
You've nailed the distinction. It's the investment of intention. 5 examples. 1. Formal. The signing of the annual budget is a professional ritual that validates the company's financial planning. 2. Casual. My bedtime ritual is listening to 10 minutes of rain sounds before I close my eyes. 3. Funny. My cat's complex pre-dinner ritual involves meowing loudly and rubbing against my leg exactly 7 times. 4. Historical. Many ancient cultures had specific morning rituals involving stretching or mindful breathing. And 5. Philosophical. Daily rituals, no matter how small, create anchors of predictability and intentional peace in a busy and chaotic life.
Let's roleplay sharing specific night rituals. I think this is where the humanity of the routine really comes out.
Agreed. I'll start. My specific night ritual begins after I unplug. I drink warm milk, which is an old habit from childhood, and I perform light yoga stretches for 5 minutes.
That's a lovely, calming ritual. My ritual involves a final mental check. I use a small notebook, and I write down a short gratitude list. 3 things I was thankful for that day. It clears the mental clutter.
That is a high-value, intentional ritual. Why does that work better than just thinking about the day?
Because writing it down forces me to use simple past tense to reflect and simple present for the action. I write my list. It links language practice directly to mental closure. After that, I fluff my pillow 3 times. It's silly, but it's a specific signal. The day is done.
That sense of closure is essential before you finally go to bed.
Collocations and nuances.
Okay. Daily night morning ritual. The time frame. Ritual practice, emphasizing the activity. Habit, the contrast. Automatic versus intentional. Routine, a synonym but less mindful. And gentle breathing exercises. Physical actions that can be part of the ritual.
Spotlight on go to bed. This seems so simple, but we mentioned the common mistake. Why is go to bed better than go to my bed?
Go to bed is the fixed, high-frequency phrase meaning to lie down to sleep. In this structure, bed functions as a concept or a state, the state of preparing for sleep, not just a physical piece of furniture. Saying I go to my bed is grammatically correct, but sounds unnatural and overly literal.
It's the same conceptual usage as go to work or go to school. We are focused on the state, not the destination.
Exactly. 5 examples. 1. Formal. He was instructed to go to bed at the customary hour to ensure maximum readiness. 2. Casual. I usually try to go to bed before 11 p.m., but I often fail if I'm reading a good book. 3. Funny. I forgot how to go to bed without my phone, so I had to read the shampoo bottle label instead.
Ah.
4. Historical. The phrase has been used for centuries, marking the traditional end of the active day. And 5. Philosophical. Going to bed is the final essential act of the daily ritual, signaling physical and mental closure.
Let's role play the final sequence before sleep.
You've finished your wind-down ritual. Now for the final steps before you fall asleep. I brush my teeth again, I put on my pajamas, I check that my phone is still unplugged in the other room, and I check the alarm one last time to make sure it's set for 6:30 a.m.
That sequence ensures everything is prepared for the morning routine. You've cleared your mind and prepared your body.
Then I get into bed, pull the covers up, and wait for my eyes to feel heavy so I can fall asleep. That phrase, fall asleep, is the perfect conclusion.
It is. It emphasizes the involuntary nature of the final act.
Collocations and nuances.
Sure. Go to bed early, late, time markers, put on pajamas, key-related vocabulary, fall asleep, the goal, get into bed, focus on the physical act, and tuck in, used if applicable to family or loved ones.
We have the solid foundation, the nuance, and the content. But how do we turn these single actions into a continuous, coherent story?
We bridge that gap using temporal connectors. These are the tools that transform disconnected sentences. I wake up, I brush my teeth. I eat breakfast into a structured, fluent narrative that flows smoothly.
So the simple ones are things like, then, after that, next, finally. Those are highly effective. We use them at the beginning of the next sentence. So I get up at 7 a.m. Then I walk straight to the bathroom.
Okay, and what happens after that?
I splash cold water on my face. After that, I brush my teeth slowly.
And the next immediate step?
I take a quick shower. Next, I get dressed for work.
And the final action before I leave the house?
Finally, I grab my coffee and my bag and leave for work.
Let me try linking 4 evening actions. So, starting after dinner, I do the dishes. Then I change into cozy clothes. After that, I wind down by reading a book. Finally, I go to bed around 10:30 p.m.
That demonstration is perfect. You've created narrative flow and coherence, which is a key step for A2 learners moving toward B1 abilities.
We've absorbed all these great words and rules, but how do we move from passive listening to active automatic speaking? What are the key strategies?
This requires deliberate, active practice focused on achieving automaticity, using the language without conscious internal translation. We have 3 highly effective methods.
Strategy 1, shadowing.
Shadowing is a cornerstone technique. You listen to a native speaker, and you repeat their speech immediately after, focusing on mimicking the rhythm, intonation, and tone. It builds muscle memory in your mouth and forces you to speak without translating.
It forces the rhythm of English into your physical mouth.
Precisely. Strategy 2, the daily voice journal. This is the ultimate A1, A2 fluency test. Instead of writing, you record a short audio clip every evening describing your day's routine. You're forcing yourself to spontaneously produce language using the learned vocabulary and grammar.
That sounds vulnerable but effective. You can hear exactly where you hesitated.
It's incredibly effective. And strategy 3, mirror practice. Mirror practice is crucial for establishing an English internal monologue. You stand in front of a mirror and describe your immediate actions out loud. I'm making coffee. I'm putting on my shoes. This forces your brain to process your immediate reality in English.
All these strategies rely on one thing, though: consistency. What is the cornerstone for maintaining this practice?
Consistency, not duration. 10 to 15 minutes daily is sufficient. The key is to make the practice non-negotiable and automatic.
And how do we make it automatic?
You anchor the practice to an existing habit. If your English practice becomes part of an already automatic, routine-like practicing vocabulary while you brush your teeth, it requires less willpower and is easier to sustain.
Finally, let's revisit integrating feelings. How do we move from that rigid A1 recitation to a fluid A2 dialogue?
By adding simple emotional context. Don't just list actions. Add how you feel about them using the verb to be. I feel energized after my cold shower, or I'm tired when I have to push through the last hour of work.
This ties into the concept of reflection, thinking about your actions and feelings, like my evening gratitude list ritual.
Yes, reflection grounds the language in your personal experience, making it easier to remember and use spontaneously.
Okay, let's move into the mistake segment. I'm going to voice some of the most common errors we hear from learners, and you tell us how to correct them.
I'm ready. Let's polish our listeners' output.
Mistake 1, missing up, or 2. Can I say, I wake in the morning, or I go work at 9 a.m.? Why isn't that clear?
While a native listener might understand, the phrasing is unnatural. The correction is mandatory. I wake up in the morning and I go to work. The particle up, or the preposition to, are essential parts of these fixed phrases. You can't separate them.
So we treat those small words up too off as non-negotiable.
Absolutely, they're the linguistic glue.
Okay, mistake 2. Possessives with common nouns. I hear this a lot. Can I say I go to my bed or I eat my lunch? They're my possessions, so what's wrong?
The error is using a possessive pronoun when describing a common habitual action. The correction for natural usage is to drop the possessive. I go to bed and I eat lunch.
Yeah.
We treat dead, lunch, and work as common concepts, not just personal property.
So if I say I go to bed, I am signaling that I am entering the conceptual state of sleeping.
Precisely. It streamlines the conversation and sounds more fluent.
Mistake 3. Misplacing adverbs of frequency. Can I say, I sometimes am tired, or he never is late?
No, this is the classic placement error with the verb to be. The correction is, I am sometimes tired, and he is never late. The critical exception rule dictates that adverbs of frequency must follow the verb to be.
So the moment I use am, is, or are, the adverb has to follow it, no exceptions.
That rule is non-negotiable for accuracy.
And let's end with the most foundational error. I hear people skip the S, she go to the gym.
This must be corrected immediately. The correction is she goes to the gym. This is the single, non-negotiable rule of the simple present. We must add the S or ES for he, she, or it. If you skip this, it signals a structural weakness that will impede all future learning. Master the S today.
Fantastic. 4 key mistakes clarified. Now we know exactly what to listen for in our own practice. All right, listeners, you have navigated the complexity of the simple present, mastered adverb placement, and integrated 12 high-value vocabulary phrases. It's time for a quick pop quiz. Hit us with it.
Let's confirm your knowledge. Question 1. If you feel sluggish and unproductive after your lunch break, what noun describes that feeling of energy drop?
That would be the slump, the afternoon slump.
Correct. Question 2. What is the high-frequency phrasal verb meaning to intentionally relax gradually and prepare for rest in the evening?
That process is to wind down.
Exactly. Question 3. How often does the adverb sometimes usually mean in terms of percentage?
That's the flexible middle ground, 50%.
Perfect. Question 4. Complete this sentence correctly. I am late. Where does the adverb rarely go?
Because we're using the verb to be, the adverb must follow. So it is, I am rarely late.
Perfect application of the rule. And question 5. What are the 2 distinct actions in the morning that separate the mental state from the physical state?
That's the contrast between wake up mental and get up physical.
Excellent work, and excellent work to all of you listening.
Let's quickly summarize the top concepts and words we mastered today for B1 progression.
The top 3 concepts were, first, re-anchoring the simple present tense as the core foundation, especially the third-person S rule.
Second, understanding and correctly applying the placement rules for adverbs of frequency, especially that tricky rule with the verb to be.
And third, using temporal connectors like then and after that to turn action lists into coherent narratives.
And the top 5 words learned. We clarified the contrast between wake up and get up. We analyzed the necessity of recharge to fight the afternoon slump, and we mastered the mindful, intentional act of the evening ritual.
Before we sign off, here is a small task for you. Think about your schedule for tomorrow. Describe your morning routine out loud in English, using at least 2 temporal connectors and 1 adverb of frequency.
For example, I always brush my teeth, then I take a shower, finally I check my emails. Speak it out loud in English before you go to bed tonight.
That small step really solidifies the learning.
And before you go, don't forget to show your support. Don't forget to like and subscribe to English Podcast Voice. Your engagement keeps this deep dive possible.
And here's a final thought to mull over. If you perceive the act of unplugging in the evening not as a loss of connection, but as an act of self-preservation that guarantees the quality of your next day, how does that shift the meaning of your daily routine?
I'm Quinn. See you next time.
And I'm Riley.